Before we dive into who I think should be the starting point guard for our Chicago Bulls next season, it's DeMar DeRozan's birthday. He's actually turning 34 years old today. So before we dive into everything, hit that like button to show DeMar DeRozan some support and wish him a happy birthday. But now let's discuss who I think should start for the Chicago Bulls next season. So a big debate amongst Bulls fans during this NBA offseason following the signing of Jevon Carter during the free agency period, I believe has been the talk around the starting point guard spot for the Chicago Bulls. And I think the fan base is pretty split down the middle. I've talked to some people on Twitter, talked to some people actually here on our own very YouTube community tab, and it seems like it's pretty 50-50 on who Bulls fans want to start at that point guard spot between Jevon Carter and between Coby White. I think it should lean one guy here, and I'll be explaining my full thoughts and more on today's show. But before we dive into it, I want to get your guys' thoughts. I want you guys to pick a starter for the Bulls point guard position next season. Give me a CW for Coby White or give me a JC for Jevon Carter. I think I'm leaning the guy who we signed during free agency, but I'll be explaining my thoughts here in just a second. Now, if we're looking at the Bulls roster kind of as a whole right now, I think this has a lot to do with, who I do think should start at the point guard spot, because I don't think it's as simple as who is the better player. I think you got to consider fit, and I think you just got to overall consider play style of these guards. Obviously right now I do have Jevon Carter slated in as the starting point guard, but next to guys like Zach LaVine, DeRozan, they'll hold down the 2-3. And then at the front court, I do have P-Dub at the 4, and then Nikola Vucevic at the 5 right now as the Bulls starting lineup. But let's talk about just production out of these two from last season. Jevon Carter actually ended up starting 39 games for the Milwaukee Bucks, playing a total of 81 games out of 82. Both these guys stay fairly healthy, play majority of the games during the season, and put up very, very similar numbers. Like pretty much carbon copies of each other, but they play the game a whole lot differently. The efficiency, Jevon Carter gets that nod. He shot 42% from deep this past season, which is why I think the Bulls, gave him maybe a little more extra money than most people would have, hoped that he would have gotten during free agency. But Jevon Carter, 8 points a game, 2.5 boards, 2.5 assists on really solid efficiency as well, just kind of edging out Coby White, especially from downtown from a three-point shooting perspective. But overall, I do think it should be Jevon Carter that gets that starting job. I just think with his overall fit next to guys like LaVine and DeRozan, I think it would make a lot more sense if Billy Donovan would roll out Jevon Carter as the starting point guard in comparison to a guy like Coby White. And I actually got 3 reasons why I do think this. I think the number one reason, kind of just mentioned it, I think he is a better fit with the starters in comparison to a guy like Coby White. Like, I think if you talk about Jevon's game as a complementary piece, I actually think he complements guys like LaVine and DeRozan pretty dang well, because we all know LaVine and DeRozan, they're going to want to go get their owns. They're always looking for their own shots on offense. LaVine, just a typical, prototypical 3-level scorer in the NBA. He doesn't really give a lot of love to the defensive side of the floor, a lot of effort, just because mainly he's carrying that load on the offensive side of the floor. So how do you complement that? You get a defensive-minded point guard at that one spot. And we already kind of mentioned the starting 5 this next season, but I do fully anticipate this to be the starting 5. Game number 1 for the Chicago Bulls, and I think Carter would be a great piece next to LaVine and next to DeRozan. And that's my take with this Bulls starting point guard spot. You don't need the point guard next to DeMar and next to LaVine to be a scorer. They're already going to handle that side of the basketball court. Like, in terms of shots per game last year for the Bulls, LaVine was at 18, and then DeRozan was at 17.6. They're getting a lot of the scoring output, and a lot of the shots come from those two guys. So the guy you need at that point guard spot, I think he needs to be more of a control the pace type of point guard. Get the guys in the right sets, get players solid looks, and we've seen guys like, Lonzo Ball do that back for the Bulls back in that 2021 season. And also Lonzo, he was playing defense at an extremely high level. It kind of takes a little bit of the, kind of defensive intensity and defensive kind of workload off the shoulders of LaVine and DeRozan. And Carter or Ball that one season will take on more of the workload. So I just think overall Carter's a better fit in that starting unit with the guys, with the scorers that we have in LaVine and DeRozan. My second reason, I also just think this would benefit Coby White more coming off the bench. Obviously everybody wants to hear their name called out when they're running out of that tunnel and you hear that Bulls intro music playing. and obviously you want to hear your name in that starting unit. But I think it would honestly benefit Coby White a little bit more, because we're talking about just max potential with Coby White. Like, who is the best version of himself that he can be? I think if Coby White wants to reach his potential in the NBA, he needs to embrace more of a combo scoring guard off the bench role. And the example I gave was just a typical guy like a Lou Williams or like a Nate Robinson, where they could come off the bench and have a game where they give you 30 points and he's 12 of 17 or whatever his stat line may be, but he also has the yang to that yin, where he'll have a game where he'll come off and it'll be 2 of 12 and just kind of be that hot, streaky scorer. And that's what we've seen from Coby White so far during his career. But in terms of a potential bench lineup, and I just went full 5 bench players for this, if you could have Ayo Dosunmu, Coby White, and Alex Caruso be the 1, 2, and 3, I think those guys complement each other extremely well. We obviously know Ayo and Caruso being some of the best defensive guards, and Caruso you could kind of throw into that wing category in the entire NBA. And then a guy like Coby White, and you could just let the whole offense kind of run through him. That's why I do think overall it would be a great move for the Bulls to bring Coby White off the bench, just because of the offense. Like, if you allow Coby White to fully let the offense run through him with the bench unit, in comparison to kind of him being a tertiary scoring option with the starting unit, like, I just think it would benefit him a whole lot more. He would be getting a lot more easier looks, and it'll help him a lot more just get in rhythm, because when you are playing against with the Levine and DeRozan, you're not really getting in rhythm as easily as you would like to. But if you said Coby, you're going to get this amount of pick and rolls, this amount of isolations, whatever it may be, playing with this bench unit, I think you could also, kind of convince him to that, where he could be, getting more of the scoring output and getting more of the kind of benefits of playing with that bench unit. You also would have great guard defenders around him, which we obviously know Coby White, not the best guard defender, but you put a guys like Ayo, Caruso next to him, I think it'd help him out as well. I got one final reason on why I do think the Bulls should start Jevon Carter over Coby White here in a second. But guys, we got a great deal going on right now, and if you head over to chatsports.com/Bulls combo, you can get this 2 t-shirt pack for $20 off. Normally they're running for $49.99. But if you use our link, you can get yours for $29.99. Head to chatsports.com/Bulls combo. I'll put that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. My third reason that I kind of touched on a little at the top of today's show was just the point of Jevon Carter being more of a pure point guard for just in his overall game in comparison to a guy like Coby White. Last season with the Bucks, Jevon Carter actually started 39 games for that Milwaukee Bucks team, who looked to be the number one or one of the best teams in the entire NBA. So obviously, they lost first round to the Miami Heat. The Giannis injury and just kind of the Heat catching lightning in a bottle, led to the Bucks not kind of reaching their max potential there. But in terms of just play style, I do think Jevon Carter, more of a pure point, can kind of get players better looks than a guy like Coby White, even though it's the assist numbers per game don't really reflect that in their first couple seasons in the league. But we can even go back and look at Jevon Carter's days at West Virginia. He was that floor general. He was the one kind of pushing the pace and controlling the flow of the game. I think Carter does that as a better level, or at a better kind of pace than a guy like Coby White. But both of these guys, I think it would both benefit them the most if Jevon Carter starts and Coby White comes off the bench, because they're both different types of guards. Scoring guard in Coby White, defensive guard in Jevon Carter. Have the scoring guard come off the bench. Have the defensive guard in the final unit, or in the starting unit. But as you guys at the top of the show, I said pick a starter. Let me know if you guys' thoughts have changed. Give me CW for Coby White, or give me JC for Jevon Carter down in the comments section. Excited to see what you guys have to say. And guys, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. No matter what news, rumors, or even fun videos like this discussing who should be the starter for the Bulls, any videos or any news, rumors, whatever it may be that come out around your team, lock us in, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys soon. As always, go Bulls.